All right, we're picking up with the companions after they've made a small excursion to go shopping at some of the merchant wagons around the High Claris Tower where they're camped out. They get a night's rest here before they start moving on to Palanthas itself, but Nysdrith has a bit of a vision that night that syncs up with something Carol saw much earlier. And when they get to Palanthas, they start putting down the groundwork for some interesting social maneuvers as Dade takes on a persona, let's put it that way. We'll see how that does for them. You guys make it back to the wagon
nice.
pretty much like about a half an hour after nightfall. You can see some of the torches have been lit around. People have some campfires going in the area, on the other side that we were at the High Claris Tower.
So what's the plan? Are we heading straight to, when we get to Palanthas, we're going straight to the Knights of Solamnia?
Yeah, I think we should go to
their
wherever
places
it is that we got to unload these bodies that we've been carrying for days.
Yes.
Do not risk a vanishing act. Yes, immediately. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm eager to wash my hands of this.
We also need to let them know about the Ogre Titan,
Yes.
as well as the Knights in Araka encroaching so close to Palanthas. Also, we should probably give them the name of the guy he was supposed to meet with.
I'm giving them the letter.
Yes.
None of you are lying to me, are you?
Also,
You're not.
we
evil,
should
right?
probably. Why would we lie to you?
Why would he lie to me?
I don't know, but
Because
we're
he's a
not
knight
lying
of
to you.
Jesus.
He wanted to sell you. He wanted to make money, or use you for whatever the Knights of Tekesis or Knights of Naraka are planning to use you for. We just want you to be you. You're clearly a sentient being, regardless of what you're made of. But we do need to also let them know about the Red Dragon and the cultists that were a massive army that were amassing south. Well, is that southeast?
First wall, right?
First wall, right? Which from Palanthas is southeast, right?
It's more east southeast, but yes.
Regardless of where it is, it's a fucking problem, and it needs to be handled or contained or something.
Is first wall part of their lands?
No, not at
Nope.
all. Frostwall is part of Clotar, the Midland, and Estwild to the north there. It's in the marshes, so you don't really get into the Empire of Solamnia until you get to Solamnia itself, the Plains of Solamnia. Gardlund and some of the places around there are starting to tease out the idea of being part of the Empire, but they haven't signed up yet. Nightlund has not signed up yet. It's primarily just Solamnia, Plains of Solamnia, and Palanthas that is really in the Empire, and they're slowly spreading out.
They still need to be made aware that it's close.
Right, that there's a fucking problem.
Yep. Or there will be.
Right?
Because
Give word to the Knights of Vanguard or whatever.
Well, the dragons don't give a shit about distance.
Either way, it could be a problem. If they don't know, it's good that they know regardless of what they do about it. Because we're sure the fuck not going to do anything about it with 6 of us. The plan is to get some rest and head the fuck to Palanthas. Because we're basically, once we get to Palanthas, we're going right to wherever the Solamic Knights are, wherever their stronghold is or whatever.
Yep. I want to set Sanger as a watching guardian, first of all, particularly for any movement from our knight over there.
Sure.
Yeah. And I'm also going to set alarm because I'm, that kind of paranoid now.
And there are a lot of wagons around you. So if somebody were going to come jump you guys, this would be a perfect situation for it to happen. They're blended in the crowd. Completely get it. You set your alarm. You make sure you set your homunculus up to watch over Liam. Nysdrith is still going to be up all night, not having to sleep. And you guys go to rest. Now, roughly halfway through the night, Nysdrith has a issue.
Oh dear.
She falls asleep. Exactly. You fall into a dreamlike state where you realize as things go on, as the moments pass, the environment around you that you're seeing is morphing into something else. And it's disconcerting for you because you haven't dreamt since you've been in this state.
Online?
You know what dreams are. You understand how they work. You know that living creatures tend to, when they go to sleep, have dreams of the day and their minds go all over the place. But for you, so far, you haven't experienced this. Well, now you do. And when you see the area around you start to morph, you get the presence, more than you see it, the presence of these massive trees all around you. We're talking 7-8 feet wide and just stretch and claw at the sky. And as you look up into the night sky, you'll see these massive leaves and branches spreading out that creates this incredible forest canopy. And things blur, and you're inside this quiet tomb where you see all these sarcophagi laid out. Some are knights, some are other warriors. And in the corner of this dusty crypt, for lack of a better word, as you turn around and try to make reason of what you're seeing, you see this staff of this black oak topped by a dragon's claw holding a crystal ball. And you get this sensation that you need to find this. It's imperative somehow. Something inside of you, as you've reached this weird state, is saying that this is an important thing you need to find. And as you start to try to take a step back and separate yourself to figure out what the hell's going on, you look around and it's just the campground and your sleeping compatriots and all the other wagons across the field that's outside of the High Clerist's Tower. The vision is past.
Nysdrith will actually start sketching out the thing that she has to find.
Sure. You'll make the rough sketch.
Well,
Roughly
also I
around
want to
that
do the trees in the tomb too.
Okay.
As much detail as I can recall.
Yeah, it'll take the rest of the early morning to actually sketch it out, but you can get a really good environment of the trees, the size of them, the weight of the branches, the reach of the canopy, the inside of the tomb, this staff in the corner.
And then
the
also,
sarcophagi.
while I'm thinking about it, because I should have done this before, the last vision I had of that large lake with the three figures, one in white, one in black, one in red, I want to sketch that out too to see if maybe rings a bell to anybody else.
Sure. By the time you're finished with this, the dawn has started to encroach upon everybody's rest. The homunculi has not detected any sort of movement from Liam. Alarm has not been triggered. You guys all wake up in your usual order. Carol first. Once they're awake, people start slowly waking up after that. And Carol will see that Nysdrith has been sketching. Like when you go to check, just kind of wake up and look, fit your bedroll and look over. The Warforged is sketching in this like journal in like a charcoal pencil. When you look over, you immediately recognize the Valenwood trees and the tomb that you had a vision of a while back. Most particularly, you recognize that staff 100%.
So, have you been to the tomb of the last heroes?
No, but I have had a dream of it.
Well, that's what you're drawing.
I just dreamed this. We're supposed to find this, and she'll point at the staff. I am supposed to find that.
Don't recognize the staff, right?
Knowledge history. Or history roll, please.
For all of us, or just the person that asked?
Carol first.
I
Carol,
would like to use a die.
Okay, you will use the dice.
Please welcome those who use dice.
That's 2 in a row. May I use the third one? For a second
You may
die?
if you wish.
I could also roll history. I don't know how much it'll help.
16
That's
will
a
work.
good roll.
16 will
go.
work because this staff has figured so prominently in so many legends of Krynn. It is the Staff of Magius.
The staff I've
Last-
already
I would have
seen
an
that was
advantage on
inside the
that,
tomb.
actually.
Yep, it's the staff that's inside the tomb. You saw it. It's a Staff of Magius, last wielded by Palin Majere, but most infamously wielded by Raceland Majere.
By Raceland. Yep.
Yep.
I've already had that vision. I know that
And
we need to go
you're
there.
making a roll?
Is it possible to get more information than that, generally?
Sure. If you get better than 16, I can add some things in there to pepper and
Okay.
color your experiences, your knowledge.
All right, so technically I have advantage on this since it's dealing with a magic item.
Sure. What do we got? A
And-
21.
That's the
Let's
first
see if
one.
you get
Seems pretty nice.
Let's see if you get something else.
Ooh, close.
And a
I
9.
almost rolled that 18, which would have been better. But the
I
21.
think the 21 takes the advantage slot here. So for Jorg, as you're thinking about it, first off, you immediately recognize the Staff of Magius. And it's general history. Palin Majere wielded it last in the Chaos War. Before that, it was very much prominently wielded by Raceland Majere, Hero of the Lance. However, it's a weird sort of knowledge of it because you have knowledge from like Nimish and other gnomes that have encountered Raceland and known the properties of that staff. That staff is a big question mark magically because it seems to manifest powers based on the wielder, not necessarily powers that were imbued or that have been cataloged beforehand. It seems to be like an evolving magical item, which is almost fucking unheard of. It has been wielded by the most powerful magic users on the face of Krynn repeatedly. And when last it was seen, It was given up reportedly by Palanthas at the end of the Chaos War. Nobody's seen it since then.
When you say it was given up, given to whom?
To Raceland, supposedly.
Oh, gotcha.
Like Palin gave it back to his dead uncle. However the fuck that worked.
Legend has it that stuff, it has changing powers. It has
Depending on how
abilities.
you live.
Powers as in transform someone or
No, it's abilities that are somehow connected to whom has it.
It probably changes.
Does
with the
different
wielder.
things for different wizards.
If you think Staff of the Magi, and there's 3 different. I've had a dream of, well, a vision of several things. I felt that we needed to go to Tomb to retrieve. And in my vision, there are 3 items that would be appropriate for 3 of us in this group. There may be
Sorry.
more, but that were not included in my vision.
I'm sorry. We?
Is this
If
some
you're
kind of
so
prophecy?
inclined to go, yes.
It is the plural of you.
I'm,
We.
I'm aware of what we means. That's why I'm concerned about this, because last I checked, I was on a job, and after that job was concluded, done. So
fair.
I just need to understand what some of the expectations are here.
Don't look at me. I have no idea.
You are a sentient being and can make your own choices.
Absolutely.
And to do so, just want to make sure that some decisions aren't being made here for me that I'm not entirely okay with.
Absolutely not.
All right. Well, it is what it is. Let's get some food in us and hit the road.
So you guys sit in the morning, get your breakfast in, and start traveling away from the High Clerist's Tower towards Palanthas. As you travel the Night's High Road, it takes you effectively 2 days to get to Palanthas. It's only 50 miles, but you're covering between 25 and 30 miles a day, given the road and the horses' state. They've been refreshed, been not pushed too far, so you're moving along pretty well. As you pull into Palanthas and start passing through the massive gates of the city, one thing becomes abundantly clear to all of you. This wonderful big circular city is really comprised of 2 different cities. The old city of Palanthas is encompassed in the old city walls, which is pretty much the heart of the city itself. The new city started building out past that and making new neighborhoods and acting as refugee camps and things of that nature. So it's Palanthas kind of built up over the centuries. One thing that comes to mind as you guys pass through the gates of Palanthas, these massive minaret topped towers that you kind of go through as a flow of traffic's kind of being directed by the Knights of Palanthas, the Knights of Solamnia, that are just making sure everything's on the up and up, nobody's carrying anything crazy. You get some people that kind of check the back of your wagon and see primarily the coffins, and they just kind of wave you through. Nobody pays attention, it seems, to Liam. They're like, you know what?
Nothing to
We're not
see
going to get
here.
involved. Well, because you don't have his armor on him. He's just some dude hogtied at this point in time.
Right.
So they wave you on through. Now, for a couple of you, let's say Jorg and Voss, who's dealt with such things, and Carol, who has also dealt with such things, you know that the Knights have more than likely a watch commander that's on right now that will handle things. Given the layout of the Palanthas, and especially for Carol, what you have learned about the city over time, it's probably more towards the inside of the city where you're going to have to go, like probably around City Plaza or the Knight's Palace. Now, for Carol, the Great Library is where your contact is at.
Yep.
So
They'll have to wait until after we deal with this.
yeah, you will pass along the Knight's High Road through the southeast portion of the city. So you'll pass like the Great Library, the Lord's Way, on your way towards the city jail and the city plaza. Roughly around where the city jail and the city plaza are at is probably where you're going to find the watch commander for the Knights. That's the person you're going to probably get in touch with, the proper individuals to deal with the situation with Liam. Temple Row, more than likely, is where you'll probably have to go for the burial of the individuals in the wagon.
Well, I think that burying them is up to the order, and we need to see if they even want to deal with Liam, since he was definitely murdered Ren, and probably was the reason that the rest of these were set up to also die. And I need to hand them a letter that was on him.
So then towards City Plaza.
That was written in their language.
Yeah, so definitely gonna head towards City Plaza first. We're gonna handle that shit immediately.
There is some kind of intrigue going on here. Might it not be a good idea to make some arrangements first?
What do you mean?
Before we
What kind of
get
arrangements?
involved? Voss knows people. He's good at getting to know people in the city of a certain kind who might be able to provide assistance. Perhaps he may want to go around and talk to people, find out what the rumors are.
I mean, that's
very good at that.
Are you trying to insinuate that I might be able to talk to some shady people who might know some things and give us some information? Is that what you think of me?
Yes.
All right. Are there taverns around?
I'm assuming there's a shit ton of them around here.
Oh, you'll be able to find a lot of taverns. Now, the north part of the city is where you have Branchala's Bay, or the Bay of Branchala. So you have a lot of the docks and the private harbors and the merchant harbors. A lot of your seedy drinking establishments are probably going to be up there. Now, however, as a relatively worldly rogue, as Voss has been in Sanction, you also know that in those nice parts of town are also where you have some really seedy fucking people. So you can go to the seedy part of town with the dregs and the sailors and the ruffians, or you can kind of maybe check out Noble's Hill and check out the local booze hall and see who's swindling people there. Both are equal measure. Additionally, what better place to have a bunch of thieves and representatives but the City Plaza? So a couple of different avenues, opportunities start to pop up here. You can do the City Plaza and get your more general people who are flincing people as they come through. The Noble's Hill and the Noble's Way that are more dealing with the upper class and doing con games. You can do the ruffians and that basic pickpocketing shit up by the docks. Or if you really want to get into con men, swing by the Temple Row to the west side of the city.
Let's go with the rich people.
So we're gonna head towards Noble's Row or Noble's Way.
Noble's Way. You guys will
Noble's
basically
Way.
start taking one of the side roads that go between the buildings, and as you pass by them, you're seeing that a lot of the structures here, the residential places especially, are very well maintained. The closer you get to once you're inside the old city, and the closer you get towards the City Plaza, things get much more polished. You're seeing trimmed hedges, manicured lawns. It's just beautiful. Everything is so pristine. But as you guys came through the city originally from the outskirts of the new city, it was more middle class or lower class housing where people yeah, we just kind of built it here. It's not the best, but it's what we have. Now you're getting to a little bit of decadence, to be completely honest. And as you pass through the middle ground, going to Noble's Way and then passing up the Noble's Hill, you're seeing a couple of taverns on the corners of buildings built just outside of a more of a larger tenement housing for the upper scale residents, townhouses essentially. Massive houses that are put together, but they're just one massive building. Corners, you'll see an occasional tavern. You don't see any beggars up here, which is odd. This would be a great place for beggars to be, but for some reason in Palanthas, they're not here. And as you pass a block or two not seeing them, you start to understand why. There are foot patrols of the knights here. Looks like, lower level knights, maybe squires and some of their other apprentices that are kind of going through and making sure that the streets are clear of any vagabonds and beggars or the like. And you'll see the city guards kind of moving in more frequent patrols as well. It's very highly policed up here.
Then if there's not outright begging going on, the fact that it's highly patrolled, are there pickpockets? Have they just gotten more crafty in this area, or they just completely leave it alone?
On first glance, it looks like there aren't any pickpockets, but as you spend more time in the area, as you guys are riding the wagon, it's clopping down the way as the horses' hooves are echoing off the buildings around you, you start to see that there are very finely dressed individuals that will walk by other citizens and go, "Oh, excuse me," and do a casual bump and then walk on by. With your knowledge of the craft, potentially those are pickpockets.
Did everybody come with me?
Well, I think the whole wagon's going.
I figured we were all going with the wagon.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'll warn everybody not to bump into anybody.
So you guys start getting closer to Noble's Hill, and you see this massive tavern / inn Looks like it's for visiting dignitaries or individuals who are not quite on the list, so to speak, to get like a house of their own, but they stay in the nicer, like the inns and the taverns here, to kind of have something befitting their station. Very ornate, nice hedges outside. It's a 3-story building with like this white stucco exterior, but you can see the wooden cross beams through it. A very classic vision of a tavern, a nice 3-story inn. Outside, you'll see a gentleman tending to horses that are kind of like have their reins kind of wrapped around a tether out front. From inside, you hear a very nice lute being played as this sound just kind of filters through the door as people kind of wander in. The patrons here are very upper scale. There's a lot of silks, a lot of nice colors going on, a lot of clean clothes. That's the biggest thing. These are people who are actually maintaining their clothes on at least a daily basis, which in middle class and lower class is not really seen. You'll see mud stains, etc. Here, it's all pristine. But it's definitely the biggest tavern. And it's ironically called the Lord's Escape.
All right. So we're not going to fit in here at all because we've been on the road.
But you guys do have steel to flash. That is important.
We do have steel to flash.
Because you have that bin of 200 steel coins in the back of the wagon.
And we do have Dade.
And I have my change of clothes to fit in.
Okay. So Dade, here's what I think we got to do. You're a good talker. You got a good different sort of way with people than I do. So all I think you should do is just go in and act like you're somebody important. You're new in town, you're important. We'll flash some steel around, walk the walk. People start talking. Who's the new guy? Who's this new guy? Meanwhile, I'll kind of get in and I'll act like I'm with you. I work for you or whatever, and I'll start nosing around, talking to people and seeing what I can find out on the sly.
Okay, we can do that. What I'll do, Ray, is I'll change into my costume change, which costume clothes is basically my higher end shit. It's to help with, like, it's even in the description for social deception. So that's exactly what we're doing. I'm going to grab a solid handful of the steel and kind of put it in a pouch just to let it jingle at my side. And then me and Voss will make our way inside.
All right, so the wagon's staying out here with everybody else, though.
Yeah, because you can't bring the wagon into a fucking
wagon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Voss and Dade saunter into this massive tavern. And as soon as you push past those double doors, you are almost assaulted by the smells of wine and food, the fireplace going, the bards that are playing, on a small stage that's set off to one side by the fireplace. This is a bustling place. You see probably about, just at first glance, maybe 20 tables, and they're all full down here. The front desk, quote unquote, where you would see like a maitre d', there's actually a woman wearing a very nice red dress. She's sitting upon a stool and just looks like she's going down a list of names. There's a scroll she's looking on as you walk in.
I'll walk over to her. I'll have a big smile and I'll just kind of be like, I should be on the list, as well as my compatriot here. I love this place.
She looks over, she's like, I'm sorry, what?
Your eyes are enchanting, and I'm going to try and schmooze her real quick.
Good, roll your persuasion.
Roll to seduce the ogre.
Oh, get the fuck. We're going to use a die, because that shit was on an 11. Fuck that. We're using a die.
Okay. Use the dice. Get your advantage.
I'm fine with that.
15's good. 15's good. So you're like,
you guys are worse than me with presents.
As I schmooze her, I'll be like, we're right there on the list. And I'll literally drop like 3 steel down as I point to a random name.
You drop the steel and look at the list, and she's enamored by you. Like, you gave this compliment, this half-elf woman, and she's like, oh, you are. Let me get you to a table. I'm sorry. I'm just not even, I'm so lost in the moment. What was your name again, sir? And she'll just roll the scroll back up.
My name is Dade.
Dade, the Marquis. Yes, I know exactly who you are. Please follow me. And she'll just kind of slide off with that stool, and as she does so, the skirts of her dress just kind of flutter out around her, and she starts walking very gracefully into the inn, and she just beckons you to follow her.
As her hand swings back, as when you walk, you kind of swing your hands. I'll just grab the right hand and I'll kind of pick it up all gentlemanly, and I'll walk with her.
She just smiles at you, but you just see her kind of cast a look at Voss.
I'm fucking important, goddammit. Everybody needs to see me right now.
Voss looks a little road weary. Let's put it that way. He's been on the road. You guys haven't really had a bath in a while.
That's true.
But Dade, you've managed with your costume and the way you presented yourself, you've masked your musk, so to speak.
With a ridiculous amount of perfume.
Right.
Ponce.
Right.
And she just kind of smiles, and as she moves, like you'll see her, she has one hand that she's let you take, and the other hand is kind of grab the skirts of her dress, and she kind of gives them like a little flutter, like a little flourish. And it grabs attention of those around you as you guys skirt past the bar and ascend to the second level. It's this balcony that overlooks the first level, and she sits you down at this nice table that has room for probably 4 or 5. She guides you both to sit down towards the railings, and she gestures off in the corner. She's like, just so you know, Marquis, one of the representatives of a duke is right over there in that corner. She points to a booth. Duke Malda's people, I believe. And right over there, she points over to the next booth down is one of the watch commander's squires, as far as I'm aware. So if you're in the right place, you wish to schmooze, I will get you some wine on the house. Please, you two gentlemen, wait right here. And she'll just kind of flurry away, and you'll hear the rustling of fabric as she makes her way back down the stairs.
You know what? Before you go, can you replenish those tables that you mentioned on me as well?
Of course. I'll make sure that the waiters know about it.
Perfect.
She just smile, a little bit of wink, and descends the stairs.
I'll take a seat and I'll just kind of look over at Voss. I'm pretty sure we were seen.
Very nice. So, do we go to the watch commander, squire, or the duke?
Oh, I think the Duke should be first on the list.
Right.
The watch commander squire we have to hit. We need to find out where he's at.
Yep.
But a drunk Duke could probably give us some good info.
You do,
which is why I'm replenishing their tables.
The individual that you point out as a squire is a blonde-haired, darker complexion, like a good tan skin. His hair's a little odd. It seems a little out of place. It just seems weird. Something's off about his presence, is what you get. But he is talking to looks like an elf that's a pale-skinned elf that's sitting across from him with dark hair, and they seem to be having drinks and they're flirting. They're getting along very, very well. Both he and his elven companion, the two of them, are just kind of like trading banter back and forth. What it looks like.
Is she Kalanesti or Sylvanesti?
He is Sylvanesti.
Sylvanesti, okay.
At the Duke's man's table, which is not the Duke itself, but it's one of his people, is what you were told. You will see a human individual. I'd say probably 20 some odd years old. Looks like he's Solamnic. He's got that dark hair. He's got blue eyes. He's talking with looks like a bit of an entourage of people around him. They look like they're well dressed, but it's a varying degree of like males and females and some androgyny mixed in. They're all wearing nice clothes, but it looks like they'd be at home in a court as opposed to this tavern.
Okay.
But as you look around and see those two, this entire second level, this balcony area, these are all the people who are elevated literally above the other rank and file beneath. So it looks like the title of the Lord's Escape is kind of a literal thing here.
High rollers section. Got it.
Essentially.
All right.
The champagne room.
I'll be sort of making trying to make it obvious that I am like the assistant manservant role here, and that I'm tending to Dade's needs. So I'm making sure the table is set up just how he likes, making sure the floor around him is clear of any debris or anything that might be disruptive to him. What I'm really doing is scanning the room. Other than the Duke and the Squire, this is a high rollers area. I'm looking for some marks, and because we're throwing around a lot of steel in here, and I got to recover that cost somehow.
The first things to get you are definitely some of the people that are with the Duke's man. There are definitely people there that you can probably swindle. They're just kind of like, they're the yes men and women of the group. They're just like, oh, of course, that's amazing. As you kind of scan the rest of the crowd, there are some tables here that maybe like middling nobles, or maybe they're part of a knight's family that are here because they have title that's been hereditary. They'd be easy to kind of swindle because it seems like they're not so used to this situation. They're just kind of here right now in a nicer seating area because their title says they should be, is what it looks like. But as you're kind of scoping things out and checking the table out, you guys get a nice carafe of wine and some wine glasses delivered. You will also see that another waiter comes up and brings refills to all of the men and women at the Duke's table, among which there is some dwarven spirits, which is hardcore shit. And then at the squire's table, which is primarily wine and maybe a little bit of whiskey.
I'll be perusing the food and whatnot they have here, but I'm also just kind of side glancing and kind of doing the same thing Voss is doing. I'm kind of scanning the crowd.
Oddly, to date here in terms of food,
and shit.
Usually when somebody comes into a tavern that you're used to in Sanction, they tell you what they have. Like, hey, we got stew, we got sandwiches, make do or get the fuck out. Here, there's actually a little slate piece of wood that's been like carved into that shows you a menu of venison, and you have like all kinds of meats and vegetables here that are cooked up with various different types of spices. It's weird for Dade. This is like, what the fuck is this? It's literally a listing of all the food they have. There's probably 6 or 7 different dishes.
Okay.
No prices, by the way.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I said, the main purpose is scanning for reactions when they're refilled from some random fuckhead that just walked into the bar.
So as you kind of look at this venue and you look up as the waiters leave those 2 tables, you'll see like the squire looks over at your table and gives you a nod, lifts his glass, and just kind of a quiet thank you. There's chattering among the Duke's man's table, and you'll see one of the courtiers stand up, and he will start to walk his way towards your table. We're in a nice suit, very nicely, put together. The colors mesh very well. It's more of like a red and a blue situation, like a navy color and like a maroon. As he walks over to your table, can't be more than 20 years old at the latest. His hair is dark, but it's combed very, very close to the skull, like it's trimmed very shortly. And he stops, puts a hand on the table, lifts the glass of dwarven spirits you got, or I should say the little cup, and looks over at Dade and goes, "You apparently are a Marquis that I have never met before."
I'll stand up and I will clink glasses with him with whatever glass of shit that I have. And I'll be like, well, most people here haven't, but everything is an eventuality when I'm around. So you'll meet me now. How are you?
I'm quite fine. And he'll actually take a seat like he was invited.
Perfect.
My name's Walton.
Walton, I'm Dade.
Dade, a pleasure to meet you. Now, where is your title of Marquis from, if you don't mind me asking?
So I'm going to use my knowledge of, let's see here, whatever you think would be best as far as skills to come up with a good answer for that. Because I don't, it's been so long since I've read the books, I don't remember all the cities and all the noble houses, but I'm trying to pick some place that's
you can pick like a Marquis of some
enough.
Weird spot. Let's take a look at the map. You can pick any location you want to be
right.
completely honest. You can just say, if you want to go more Solamnia, or do you want to go further out west?
Further out west.
Or excuse me, east or west? Which one do you want to do?
We're from the east from here, so then let's go east. Just because I'd be more familiar with that area, more easily to bullshit.
A Marquis of East Keep, which was a small town you guys passed through as you left Throt.
Fair enough. Yes, I'm a Marquis in what was it called? The East what?
East Keep.
East Keep.
I gotta write this down. That Dade is now the Marquis of East Keep.
At least Palanthas.
This is in no way going to come back and bite us in the ass.
No, not at all.
Walton smiles like a Marquis. I didn't know they had Marquis. That's amazing. As a
They
matter of
didn't
fact,
until I entered and took the title because I can afford it, and I'll just smile.
he'll just kind of look. I didn't know that's how they did business out there. It's good to know. I can appreciate that, being that entrepreneurial spirit. I get it. But what brings you to Palanthas? It seems to be the first visit we have in Eastkeep. Does it have to do with the Black Dinner coming up?
Well, actually, yes. That's exactly what it has to do with.
You know the Duchess?
I mean, I will. I've heard of her, and that's why I've come.
Well, so the Black Dinners are very, very private affairs. That you got an invitation is, I'm impressed. That type of money, they can buy an invitation to Duchess Li Xuanghua of Relgoth, like her Black Dinners. This is a peak. Like, you have come into, well, you disturbed the orbit of Palanthas just by being here and being invited to one of these things when nobody knows who you are.
I can afford these things, so that's why I'm here.
You know,
And this might be a little bit more than I had in mind.
you know, I
Play
think
stupid games, Dave. Play stupid games, Dave.
if you like looking into like money and making that move, like I would advise you go talk to some of the other individuals here, because you have some individuals that are more towards the hereditary aspect of title and land and station. You seem to be more of you pulled yourself up by your bootstraps and got in your position through grit and steel, which I can appreciate. Oh God, what is his name? And you'll see him kind of purse his lips and put a finger to him as he's thinking, looks off to the side. And you'll see as he does this, the people that are at the Duke's man's table are looking over here this direction, like, what's going on? Like they're getting that like quiet, like the occasional glance over. And you'll see the squire looking over too now that you guys are talking. You're definitely attracting attention.
Perfect. At this point, I'm going to like start to rise a little bit and kind of lean and look into Dade's glass, and then I'm going to act disgusted, stand up, outraged. There's been 3 sips taken out of his drink, and there's been no refill given. I am so sorry, my lord. I will rectify this immediately. This is not the type of service that one of your station deserves in this type of establishment. Gentlemen, if you'll excuse me, I apologize. I will be back.
Clearly, I appreciate it. Absolutely. Always looking out for my best interests. Here, maybe there's just not enough steel going around. I'll pull out a couple more steel and I'll drop it in his hand.
Just like
thank you, my lord. It's a shame that it's come to this, but I guess this is the way that this has to go. And I will storm off. Now that there's been attention, my plan is to go around and start working the room, and I am going to be obviously building up the Marquis of Eastkeep's presence here, but there's also opportunity for these people because unfortunately, due to some incompetent escorts hired, one of the wagons, part of Dade's caravan here, has been extremely delayed and is awaiting repairs. And so Dade, being the rich Marquis that he is, will be absolutely happy to pay back anyone who is nice enough and generous enough to part with some of their coin so that his companions can get lodging and bathing and all of that. Not that it's a problem. There's still plenty of money, and he's throwing around coin like crazy, but you know how these things are. Bad servants traveling on the road. It's awful. And if that doesn't work, I'll start picking pockets.
So the wagon needs to be taken care of, is what you're trying to get out there. Like these people, the Marquis' entourage has been so unfairly treated. We must see to their needs. You will actually get the hostess that you spoke with as you kind of start spreading word. She comes up to you after you've been kind of spreading rumors. People have gone to her like, "Hey, did you hear about this? Like, how rude is that?" And she kind of approaches. She's like, "Excuse me, sir. You're with the Marquis, yes?"
Yes.
We would like to put his people up on the house and make sure the wagon gets taken care of and that his people are fed. We wouldn't want a dignitary from, where was it again? Oh yes, Eastkeep. I apologize. To be left without. We wouldn't want them to think that Palanthas wasn't taking care of the proper individuals that come in with the proper credentials, if you know what I mean, sir.
You know, when we walked into this establishment, I had a lot of faith that it was going to be staffed by individuals such as yourself who know exactly how to make your guests feel welcome. I appreciate your hospitality.
It is the very least I could do, sir. I mean, you're with the Marquis. I would not want him to have a bad impression of our establishment.
Well, I can say that now we are off to a very wonderful start. We do have some weary servants and bodyguards outside that could definitely use a cleanup, if you know what I mean.
Oh, most certainly, sir. I'm using a dice for that NPC roll, by the way.
That's fair.
Better. Roll your perception, Sean.
24.
Oh, you son of a bitch. She got a 16. You will just feel her as she's kind of giving you a pat on the small of the back. Her fingers linger on your money pouch for a second. And when she sees you see her, like the moment of realization, like, oh, really? She's like, oh, it's wandering hands. I apologize, sir.
I'll just wink. It happens.
Of course it does. I'll see to your people.
That's why he's my manservant.
Oh, next time I run into her, I'm going to try and pick her pocket.
That's flirting.
Oh,
I'm calling
that is
it now.
definite. That's
flirting.
thievery flirting right there. That was game on, bitch.
Yep.
I see you. I see you.
Respect the game.
As people are out in a wagon, you'll see a couple of servants come from the Lord's escape, and they'll approach the wagon and look in the back and like see who's hanging out. And one of the servants is like, "Oh, excuse me, it looks like a little elf boy. Can't be more than probably teenage years for humans. You're with the Marquis Dade of Eastkeep."
Oh,
Yes,
we are. Just slowly turn to look at the boy.
That's yes.
Cool mask. He kind of points up at Nysdrith's face underneath the hood.
Thank you.
I like your helmet. Oh no, definitely. We were informed by the house to make sure that your wagon's taken care of and you're put up for the evening because of some issues with the road.
Lead on.
Excellent. So I'll lead you back to the stables, and the other guy's with me, and he'll kind of gesture to the two like also teenage-looking human individuals. They'll kind of take you up to rooms. You can get a hot bath and something to eat and drink on the house. We'll make sure you're taken care of.
Ray, I just want to let you know, because of our experience in the last town with a kid in the horses, I'm watching him and I'm following him.
So he actually leads you back to the stables himself. You'll see the stable master kind of like nod as the horses get pulled in. He'll just kind of, the older gentleman, probably I'd say middle-aged, looks to be a dwarf actually. And he's like, you got to disconnect the horses. I can't just, the wagon, like put the wagon over there. He just kind of gestures off to the side, and the kid's like, well, that's not my job. And the dwarf just kind of grunts like, did I not say put the wagon over? Just make it happen, kid. I don't care who does it. I'll take care of the horses, make sure they're shoed, I'll make sure they're taken care of, but I didn't do the fucking wagons. And the kid's like, oh, okay. And he'll kind of like just jog over to the wagon by you guys. Do you mind if we kind of separate the wagon and the horses and such?
By all means.
And they'll start undoing the barding. The other two attendants that are with him both appear to be female attendants. They look like they're humans or half-elves. You can't quite tell, but the features are very fine and very, very well defined. But the ears are covered by their hair that's kind of pulled back into like a ponytail. They'll lead you guys into the servants' entrance of this massive tavern. And as soon as you enter, those that follow, not everybody has to if you don't want to, you hear the sounds of pots and pans clanging around. Chefs are shouting out orders to their line cooks. It's just madness as you get led through the service hallway up into the back and then taken a flight of stairs up to the third floor and escorted to a series of nice rooms. Does anybody stay behind?
I'm staying behind.
Everybody.
Has to. Someone has to.
So your Sybil and Nysdrith are all staying with the wagon?
Carol, you should perhaps see to the sacred duties.
Sacred duties? The little elf boy's
in
like,
the wagon.
You have sacred duties? What's in the wagon?
We have several people that we are escorting to the Solamnic Knights.
So like prisoners?
No. They passed away. They belong to the order.
Oh.
And we are returning them. It has been a very long trip.
I completely understand. If your friends want to stay with the wagon, I can let you know how to get to the rooms and give you keys. You can.
Absolutely.
Sure. Just follow me. And he'll lead you in and up the stairs to the rooms. He'll give you 2 keys for the 2 rooms you guys have. Large rooms. There's like 3 beds each room. And once that's done, he's like, hand out a little bit.
Oh, yes, of course. I will give him a steal.
He's like, oh, thanks. What do you need?
I wish that our wagon is not disturbed by anyone but us. I wish our rooms not to be disturbed, and I want our horses well taken care of. Do you understand?
Oh, I do. I'll make sure it's taken care of.
Excellent. May the blue lady guide you in peace. And I'll turn and walk into the room. I'll turn before I close the door, and I'll be like, by the way, where is the bath?
Oh, down the hall. Last door's kind of like the corner room. It's right in there. If you ring the bell, we'll bring hot water up to you.
Can you have them start bringing hot water up?
Of course. Does Carol speak Kalanesti?
Kalanesti?
Yes.
No, I speak Kaganesti and Qualanesti, but not Kaganesti.
Kalanesti is Qualanesti. It depends on how you
okay.
gotcha, fair.
Yeah.
It's Qual Yeah.
Yes.
So we speak Kalanesti. You will get that when you give the benediction, the blessing for the Blue Lady, he responds in kind and thanks you and hopes that the Pantheon of Light shines upon your path.
I'll just nod in acknowledging the response.
And he'll head downstairs. Essentially, as Voss is making his way around and looking for other situations and opportunities to fleece people, which, by the way, you can make probably 2 or 3 steal just by lazy, like, picking up tips and shit like that that's been left around and, like, drunken nobles. You'll see that the hostess has walked back up to the 2nd floor and spots you and just gravitates straight towards you. Manservant. I don't know your name.
lady.
Yes. Your people are seen too. We've got you rooms on the 3rd floor for them. Apparently they're ordering baths currently, but they don't want to leave the wagon. That's part of the Marquis' entourage.
Yeah, very important cargo.
Right. So can we speak over here? And she kind of gestures towards one of the back, like, access hallways.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys walk over that direction, and once you guys get within the mouth of the hallway, she's like, all right, listen. And she leans in, and she smells a bit of, like, faint rosemary, like, on around her, like it's like a perfume that's sprayed on her. You have dead bodies in this wagon?
Like I said, precious cargo. There's
Do we need to call a priest or a priestess over so they don't start smelling out the place?
No, of course, the good Marquis has such service under his employ, and I'm sure that is the individual that is reluctant to leave because that's what he's been hired to do and take care of. And he's very serious about his duties because he's been very, very well compensated by the Marquis.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to let you know that it's a little odd, but if you have people who want to stay in the barn with the wagon, we'll let them stay in the barn, and we have the room for them and baths. So
I'm sure that once they are a little bit relaxed and realize that everything is safe, that they'll make their way in. You know how it goes. He's the good Marquis is magnanimous, but he can also be quite a stickler around certain things. So it might take a little bit for those outside to kind of loosen up a little bit.
yeah, and the weather in Palanthas is never what you would expect it to be. All sorts of things stand out at the weirdest opportunities. Thieves can't. She's letting you know. Are you with the guild? Like, just coming out like, are you with the fucking guild?
I'll respond. Of course I am, my dear.
She'll start talking about the tide moving in and out. Essentially, she's asking you, like, is this a business thing? Do I need to know about it? Because I'm the rep here in this particular establishment.
No. I'll just I will let her know again in Thieves Can't that I'm trying to get the lay of the city before we get too far in so we don't step on any toes. That much in that Baron's name that who was the contact for Liam. Liam
Michael
was supposed to
Harker?
see. Yeah.
When you say that name, she raises a brow. And she'll stop Thieves Can and just go, are you with him?
No. Mm-mm. No. But we don't know anything about him, and I kind of need to.
I can make that happen if you're willing to shed some steel.
How much will it take?
Let's say probably 3.
Yeah.
Conveniently, the amount you currently have on you.
Exactly. It's a month they already fleece people out of. Yeah. 3 steel. It's fair.
All right. And she'll just palm it as you kind of hand it over subtly. And it looks like, to anybody watching, you guys just kind of like touch hands for a second, and the coins vanish. When she looks back at you, listen, just do me the favor. No business on my turf unless I give permission. This Marquis, though, and she'll just kind of just nod over towards Jeff. Everything's on level? Or are you embellishing?
Of course it is. I'll tell you what. Anything not involving the Marquis and from this moment forward, no more games.
All right. I'll see to it. I'll bring some stuff up to your rooms probably, and that's there, so.
Deal.
She'll just kind of nod, and she'll kind of saunter off down that hallway, leaving you to your own accord.
I'll return to my lord.
I'll just embellish it like, I didn't even realize you were still gone. I'm glad you're back. Have a drink.
Sorry to be away for so long. I had to have a very stern talking to with the hostess. And of course, I was stopped everywhere that I walked through because everyone is just so curious to hear about, yourself, of course. You attract attention wherever you go, of course. So my apologies.
How is our priest of Mashakal doing? Is he okay?
Walton's like, you have a priest in Mashaka. You know, actually, one of the, if I may say this, one of the Duke's friends is actually the commander of the Watch right now. And he's good friends with a cleric of Kiri Jolith. Mashakal might be a weird choice for people in the city. Not to say that anything upon the Blue Lady should be harmful or bad or a negative, but Kiri Jolith's kind of where it's at from what I hear in the circles of nobility.
Well, I can't disagree because what I know of Kiri Jolith, he's mighty, but the Blue Lady is not personally my cup of tea. But when you're looking for someone who has the power and the reach to watch over an entire group of individuals that you feel are very important to you, you can't have a better mother looking over you, right?
It depends on point of view, I suppose. I mean, if you really want to have a good stern hand watching over for defense, Kiri Jolith. But that's just, what I hear. I love all of the gods equally, appropriate gods.
Of course.
But, it is what it is. However, I do want to, before I have to head back to the table and speak, I want to let you know that if you're interested in monetary gains and investments, somebody you might want to, know about if you're interested at all.
Yes, absolutely. I'm always interested in business ventures, regardless of what they are.
As convenient as it is, it's another Marquis. It's the Marquis de Estra, Gunther Roslin. He actually stands in for Duchess Del Rose of Karagoth. He's here currently, actually, and he does a lot of investing in different properties and ventures that if you want a good return on investment, apparently he's the man to go to.
I'll just kind of snap him. My man, write that down. And I'll just point to Voss.
See, your man said memorize. He's that good. I will let the two of you rest in peace for your evening. And we'll definitely see each other around the court, especially if you're going to the Black Dinner. Like, that's... I hope I get in.
What?
I can't.
When was that again? And you know what? Maybe I can put in a good word and get you in.
Next week, I think it is.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And he'll just down the Dwarven spirits, give you a nod. Thanks again. He'll leave the little cup on the table and head back to the table with the Duke's man.
I'm going to be an arrogant prick and I'm going to drop a steel in his empty cup to clink around and just push it aside. Like, sure, anytime, buddy. Like, whoever comes to clean it up, that's their tip.
And he'll head back to the table.
I'll just turn to Voss
throwing money
like,
around.
This is great.
We gotta find out what this.
We gotta find out where it's at. I can get us in. I just need to know where it's at. We know it's next week now.
I think I can find out.
Perfect. I think we need to adjourn for the night, and we need to probably get cleaned up. Like, there's no way we don't stink.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm just gonna be a few minutes.
Sounds good. I'm gonna make a show of kind of getting up. I'll put my hand on his shoulder and just be like, I trust you in all your endeavors. And I'll push the bag of 17 or 16 steel over to him and be like, whatever you need to do. And I'm going to adjourn for the night.
Okay. So you head upstairs. Around that time, you'll run into Carol, who has just examined like the bathroom, where all the tubs are at for you guys to have a hot bath, and have seen some of the servants carrying up the buckets of hot water to fill up the tubs. As Carol's coming out of the room is when Dade will kind of emerge. Carol knows you guys have the two closest rooms to the stairs.
Right.
From where he's emerging.
I'll let him know which two rooms we have, and I'll hand him one key. I'm like, here's the key for the men's room.
My cleric of Mashagel. Perfect. I'll just kind of give him a wink.
I might take a quick bath, and I'll go and take a bath. I'll use
go into the room and I'll check it
vegetation
out.
to clean off all my clothing.
It's
okay.
That's the look of I'm not dealing with your bullshit right now.
Uh-huh.
So down in the stables, those that stayed see the dwarf go about making sure the horses are watered and fed and taken care of. He seems very thorough in his job. He is actually speaking with a mountain dwarf accent. The more that you're around him, especially if people like York would recognize this. For Nysdrith, it is what it is. You don't really. It's another dwarf. Who the fuck knows? And you guys are pretty much left alone to your own devices down there. All right, so let's see. They've made a Palanthas. Dade made a cover story as the Marquis of a far-off town, far to the east, because he apparently could just afford it to buy the title, as they try to make headway with some of the nobles in the city. Voss has made contact with the Thieves Guild, and I'm sure that everything they're hearing about this Black Dinner and all the things in Palanthas are going to work out perfectly fine for them. Or not. We'll start finding out next episode.